Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a video to continue my Final Destination movie reviews, and this is the one that came out in 2003, 3 years after the previous movie. That is Final Destination 2 in this 5-pack of films. I don't own that one by itself. I could have sworn my mom had given me like a VHS tape of something like that, or the first one or something, but I don't see them around, so I'm struggling with that. Anyway, Final Destination 2, 2003, is another Final Destination movie that does the typical thing these movies do. They have a general formula and concept, and then we work our way through it. The first one was about a plane crash. This one, this time around, is about a young girl named Kimberly, because I'm bad with names. Kimberly is basically a young girl. I think she's still in high school. Maybe she's out of it, I don't know. But one day, her and her best friend, and I think they're two guy friends or they're two boyfriends, I think it's just a couple of friends, they're all loading up in their red Jeep, and they're driving, and they're on the interstate. They're basically at the entrance to one. To try to get on there, they have to stop and wait because the traffic is so bad, and there's a bunch of cars behind them, and Kimberly, our main character, actually has a vision, just like the typical Final Destination thing, and sees not only herself and her three friends, but also many of the people behind them, including a guy who just won the lottery with a really cool Trans Am, a pregnant lady, a lady who lost her husband who also happens to have a son, and a bunch of others. One guy riding a motorcycle who's probably my favorite character in the film, named Eugene. Eugene is awesome. He's like Ben from the original Night of the Living Dead, in my personal opinion. Really like him. Cool character, dude. Who doesn't like a motorcyclist in the 2000s, you know? Even if it was like a Kawasaki type of shit, instead of a chopper like it should be. So basically, Kimberly doesn't move her car because she sees in this vision they all get into a huge wreck with a lot of explosions after a log pops off of one of those log trucks and kills a cop car. And then everybody else is dying after that because of the truck crashing and the logs coming down the road. That log scene is not a big spoiler. That log scene, matter of fact, is something that I think traumatized my entire generation before we even got a chance to take our driver's tests, you know? There's something about that scene that will be burned into my brain and many people's brains for the rest of their lives. And to this day, when my wife and I go on vacation, I can't bring myself to drive behind one of those cars or trucks or whatever, semis. I myself have missed exits on the interstate going to Tennessee or going to the beach or anything where my wife has been mad at me because I missed an exit because of these damn trucks. So thank you, Final Destination 2, for messing with all of us the rest of our lives. But that whole situation, that traffic accident, is a huge pileup, a bunch of people die, and it's avoided after she refuses to move her car. The cop that was supposed to die by the log through the car window, he pulls up, takes her out of the car, talks to her, and while they're talking, the accident begins to unfold, and something else happens too, where another car, or something, I forgot what it was, I think it was a car, flew over the road, and it happened to hit her car with her three best friends in it, and they all die, which wasn't the order of how they were all originally supposed to die. If you haven't seen Final Destination movies, basically everybody is supposed to die in the order that they died originally in that vision from the main character. And in this one, that's not what happens. Because of this weird thing that death allowed, but death did not allow, I don't know why, it goes out of order. It actually happens to go backwards this time. And this movie, by the way, too, without getting into too many spoilers or anything, has a lot of ties to Final Destination 1, which was pretty interesting sometimes. They actually bring back Ali Larter, which is not a big spoiler. She's all over the posters. I think she was in the original trailer for the movie and everything. Ali Larter comes back as the only survivor of the original movie, which was kind of weird. But she has ties to this new situation as well. I thought that was kind of unique, a very interesting thing. Final Destination 2 basically is just about this group of people trying to survive while they are killed in reverse order of our main character's dream. Some of these people believe what's happening in the group. They're not like a group of friends or a group of colleagues from high school like Part 1. A lot of them are grown adults, like the mom who has a kid, the guy Eugene, my favorite, that rides the motorcycle. They're all grown-ass adults doing their own thing. And there's these younger people trying to convince them, hey, this shit is happening to us. People are dying one at a time from our group of survivors. And So there's a lot of this you gotta believe me stuff, as my boy Horror FFA or Goosebumps Completionist, shout out to his channels, go check him out, he's a great YouTuber. As he always calls them, you gotta believe me. I think there's a lot of that in here, more so than there is in like Part 1 or any of these movies for that matter. And I really enjoy what they have to do here. Final Destination 2 has its flaws. It has really good things that I really love about it. I would start off with the good things, I guess. For example, you have the same formula and concept from the first movie onward throughout the whole series, which is fine. It's familiarity. It gives this series kind of that, again, slasher feel, but in a unique way, and I like that. I know a lot of people criticize that about the series, but I like it a lot. You also have the fact that in this movie, despite having like Kimberly, the main character, not be the most impressive, interesting character, everybody else around her are way more interesting. Even down to her dad, I think, is more interesting because of what he dealt with here, almost losing his daughter in this accident. And that's barely in the movie, but it's there and I like it. Little side things like Eugene and his life story and how he thinks he avoided death once upon a time. And then you have some other stuff like Ali Larter and how she's been in an asylum since the last movie, a year previous timeline-wise, to this movie taking place. You have all of these side characters that, whether we know them or not, they're really interesting people, and the performances really, very much, in my opinion, accommodate for all of those characters in this movie. Final Destination 2 is typically considered to be the best of the movies, and I don't really agree with that as of right now. I have not rewatched these movies in a while, but growing up I used to watch 2 and 3 all of the time. 3 being my favorite because of the amusement park thing. It was just different from so many horror franchises out there. We don't really have that even now, and I love that. It's not the whole movie, obviously, but it's quite a bit of that film, and I love it. Final Destination 2, however, is mainly taking the first film, expanding upon it, whether it be the rules, which are a little wonky in this movie. I still think a lot of people don't talk about that enough. But overall, I think it's really, really engaging and fun at the end of the day. And Ali Larter, by the way, is not the only one to come back from Part 1. You have Tony Todd here for a small, or bigger than the first film, but small nonetheless, cameo in the movie as well. I like that. Tony Todd is always awesome. What a badass dude. So, this movie is also directed by David R. Ellis, who I think the only thing I know that he did was like Get Him to the Greek, the Russell Brand movie, which, Jesus. Then you have it written by the 2 guys who did Butterfly Effect, which I've never actually seen. I don't know if it's any good or not. But they did that movie. And they also did, I think one of them was the writer for Part 4 of Final Destination, The Final Destination. And is that guy doing anything anymore? I don't think so. Neither of these writers had many credits, so I don't know if they just quit or they were pushed out or blackmailed or blacklisted, not blackmailed. I don't know what happened with that, but they're not involved too much from this film onward, which is a shame because I think they did a lot of really cool things here. But this is like the extent of variation you can do past Final Destination 1. I think Part 3 proves that and onward, where you have them like at an amusement park now. You have to change location because the rules can't be modified as much. Now you got them over here in a prequel, and you got them over here doing a NASCAR race, and so on and so on. I love Final Destination because of how unique it is in that concept, and these films typically seem to have some kind of budget behind them, despite this movie still having that sleek, kind of clean-cut aesthetic that the first film has, because it was around that time that like Scream had that, Blair Witch Project 2 had that, for God's sake. I Know What You Did Last Summer. All of these franchises and standalones had this style that really became the 90s and the early 2000s of horror. Whether you like it or not, and I'm not really a big fan of it myself, it's in this movie, but it's in it in a more unique way than Part 1. Part 1 felt like a cheap movie, like I still say all the time. Despite it being the only one that pretty much has practical effects in it, they aren't great. A lot of the kills and stuff are off-screen, so they're not super amazing to watch. Part 2 and onward, they go to CGI effects, which is the huge, massive flaw with this movie. But I will say this, they did increase the gore, which I really love that. I love bloody horror films, and I think this is a really good one for that, despite my remembering 3 to be a lot better in that respect. I also think 3 is more rewatchable than this, but that's before I rewatch it for the upcoming review for next week, or this week, or whenever I get around to it. Sorry about the delay on this video, by the way. There's something about 3 that I always liked more than this, but I used to watch both all the time on Sundays when it was really rainy here in Virginia, mainly at my grandmother's house. This was always on TV, all the time, specifically this movie and kind of the first one. I think they were on more than any of them, but part 2 especially was on TV all of the time. I think on like FX maybe, or the Sci-Fi Channel, something like that. And I've seen it a million times, to be honest with you, and I never noticed until this rewatch how much character development there was there. And it's great. I love that. I just wish Kimberly herself had more character development and wasn't such a waste of space all the time. And again, it's not the actress. She's probably pretty good. It's what they gave her to work with here. That's the problem for me. The writing is good, like I said. A lot of new rules I kind of dig, kind of don't dig at the same time. A little bit of not making our mind up on how death works and why death does the shit that death does. I don't get it. Death is a weird thing. It's not human, so let it do its thing. I don't really care. I don't really even need people to be killed in order. I almost think these movies would be even better to have it randomized. But there is a little bit of a tension when you know that you are the next one in line if you're the person in that situation. Not so much we as the audience, but that character in that situation. And you could drum up more drama with that than knowing it could be random at any point. And I think the fact that you would die in a certain order would be more believable to somebody who didn't believe this was happening to them. That always impressed me so much with these movies, specifically this one when I was growing up. Anyway, moving along though, I did talk briefly about the CGI thing. There is a lot of CGI in here, mainly because there's a lot of gore in here. There is one scene involving a hospital fire explosion, and it is embarrassing. It's the most embarrassing CGI I've seen in a movie in a long time. The CGI in Final Destination 2 did not age well. I think we can all agree on that. Whether you love this film, whether you think it sucks, whether you think it's the best of the series, sequel-wise or original-wise, I think we can all agree the CGI has not aged well, but the way the kills are creatively done is way more interesting than Part 1, and that's the best thing that came out of this movie for me. This might be the second best in the series to me. I'm not really sure. I also love Part 5 quite a bit. But Part 2 made the kills super creative. Death is extremely elaborate and OCD about how the fuck he's going to kill somebody, and I love that about it. It makes it a lot more unique as a watch, and I dig it. It's interesting. The style and everything blended together in a big-ass blender makes it really good, and I really love the direction they took a lot of this stuff. The music here, I wish we had more of, like, the rock soundtrack that Final Destination 1 had, and I get why we don't. We kind of passed that in movie making and in Hollywood. Horror had gone away from that. We didn't have, like, Halloween. When did H2O come out? Was that 98, 99? Or was that the 2000s? I'm pretty sure that was like 99. But anyway, we had gotten past the rock music in Halloween, like Curse of Michael Myers, for example. We had gotten past all of that with Blair Witch Project 2, who may have been the one to kill that off, I don't know. It was a very stylistic thing for the time, and I love it because I love rock and heavy metal, but it's almost missing here, and that's the one complaint I will give about Final Destination that I forgot as a series until I rewatched this last night, that these movies don't have the best score made for them. They typically just have like a generic horror, mysterious, kind of whimsical, pseudo-whimsical, whatever, whimsical, I don't know, soundtrack, score, whatever, that is really generic at the end of the day and really doesn't modify these films to be any better, to be honest with you. That's like the very few amount of flaws that I have with Final Destination 2, much less the whole series overall. It's more of a series thing than it is an actual FD2 thing, so that's really all I have to say. I really enjoy Final Destination 2, and I think it aged a lot better than I remembered it, aside from the CGI issues. The writing is really solid. If you can look past the effects, if you can look past the very dated nature of this movie, I think you'll like it. I think if you haven't seen it before, I think it's worth your time. Again, the creative kills in here I really loved. I don't want to go too far into all of that because I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't seen it. But Final Destination 2 is awesome. I love it. I think it's a blast to watch. And again, it might be my second favorite of the series, but right now, in this current moment, before I rewatch Part 3, 3 is my favorite. And I don't know if that'll change or not. I'll tell you in my review, but it's very possible that FD2 could end up being my favorite when I go to rank these at the end of the series of reviews in the next few weeks. or the next couple of weeks, whenever I wrap all of this up. I haven't decided. Am I doing once a week or am I going beyond that? I don't know. Haven't made my mind up, but at some point I'll decide. Final Destination 2 is a blast, and if I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I would probably give it like a really solid 4 out of 5 stars. I wanted to go a little bit lower to like a 3, but I think it's better than that. I really do. It's not amazing like a 5 out of 5, obviously, but it's better than a 3. I think it really deserves that credit because it just has so much to offer, and I don't really know how to explain that otherwise, but I really, really love what I got to see in here. It was way better this time. Last time I watched this, I don't think I mentioned it, this attempt to record this review, because I've done a few and I wasn't happy with them. I deleted those videos, but in previous recordings, I don't think I said it here, I watched this probably 7 years ago again, and I was just not into it. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I was just in that bitter part of my life or something. I don't know if I was having a bad day or what, but I was just not into this. And I'm not a huge fan of Final Destination 1, but this one I loved a lot more this time around compared to the previous time I tried to rewatch both of those in the whole series. So anyway, what do you think about Final Destination 2? What would you rate it? I'd love to hear everything you have to say about it, some memories you had about it down in the comment section down below. Who is your favorite character? I always love to ask people that when it comes to each of the Final Destination movies. Most of the time we don't have amazing characters, but I think this is one where we really have some great ones, like Eugene, like the Tony Todd cameo, Ali Larter being back. There are some really good ones in this movie compared to the overall series, and maybe that's why 2 is considered the best to most people. I don't know, but I really love it, and Eugene kicks ass, so watch it for Eugene alone. Where is that guy? Is he doing anything else nowadays? Does IMDb show this man doing... I don't even have it up. Here we go. I do. I'm sorry, I was wrong. What is Eugene doing now? Damn it. I'm so sorry. I thought that it was still going to be up on the screen, and it is absolutely not. Okay, here we go. Where are you? Eugene Dix. His last name is Dix, folks. The actor is Terrence T.C. Carson. Hey, his birthday's in November, too. It looks like he ain't doing much of anything. He played Kratos in the original God of War? No way. That's pretty cool. He played Mace Windu in the new Skywalker Saga Lego Star Wars game. That's pretty neat. He also played Mace Windu in the Clone Wars. I didn't know that. That's pretty rad. Anyway, go check out Terrence Carson. Great performance in here. He was a blast. Should have had a chopper, but I'm not going to complain about it. What do you guys think about this series? What do you think about Final Destination 2? Let me know everything you think about it down below. Sorry for being delayed on this review. I've been busy. I've been doing other things. I can't really make my mind up on what I want to do with some of the other channels and stuff, so I've been busy as shit, man. I'm sorry, between that and between work being kind of wild. Sorry, guys. Hopefully I'll be more on contract. Jesus. No, hopefully I'll be more on schedule to talk about these films on like Fridays or Saturdays or something with you, so tune in for that. We'll see how that goes, and eventually, like I said, I'll rank them out. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.